called Life 360, which is probably one you aren't familiar with. I wasn't, I have to confess, but you'll hear from him that that's surprising because it is quite pervasive and it's doing some very interesting things, and he's going to tie it to what it means for the Internet of Things, and then we're going to have a brief interaction. So, Chris.
So I'm Chris Halls. I'm co-founder and CEO of Life 360. We are an app for families. We're actually the biggest family networking app out there now. We have over 50 million families using our product. We're not like a social network. We're much more around communication and safety. Where are you? Are you okay? Are you getting to where you're supposed to be going? And you might look at us and say, what does that have to do with IoT? Because at first pass, we're just a family app. You can easily write us off as a kid tracker, but if you look a little bit deeper, we've raised over $76 million from investors, many of whom are investing us because of our ability to disrupt IoT and really be the central hub of the home. And I'll get a little bit into that in a minute, but the premise I have today is that when you look in the press in particular, a lot of what people are talking about IoT always becomes, what is that next device that's going to be connected? What is the crazy new thing like I was reading this morning, there's an umbrella that tells you if you go too far away so you don't lose your $300 umbrella. It's getting more and more like, let's put technology into new devices and then something's going to magically be the use case that wins. And that probably will happen over time, but I think that if you are an investor or just interested in the space and trying to figure out who is going to win IoT, there are a lot of Trojan horses that I think more take the view of networks. So to talk a little bit about our example, we have location on tens of millions of families in any given instance. And if you tie that to the home, it's actually quite powerful. So ADT, the home security company, they led our $50 million Series C, and they were very excited about us because they have found that it's actually very hard to get people to use connected devices in the home. It's great demos to walk into CES and see all these cool lights that can switch on, but what about these boring, mundane use cases that people actually care about? If you have a garage, you've probably been in that situation where you've left your house and crap, did I forget to close the garage door? You go home and you have to close it. Or did you lock the doors, turn on the thermostat? So why people like ADT have invested in us is if you know where the family is, you can automate all of that. And you can't do that if you just have information for one person, because you don't want to arm your home security system when your wife or kid's still at home. You need to know where everybody in the family is to do that. So we've had a number of very large companies either give us money or partner with us to give them that family information. So Nest has used our API to have auto arming based on family members, and more people use Life 360 to automatically arm and disarm Nest by family than their own family product, just because we bring so many users to the table. We're in BMW cars because they don't want you to have to type in an address to navigate to someone. It's much easier to just plug in your phone, see where all your family members are on the map. So we're an example of a Trojan horse in IoT where we are getting recognition by very large players in the industry. Verizon's also an investor. SmartThings uses us for all their family-based arming, where you look at us, we don't look like an IoT company at all, but it is part of our plan. So next year, we're going to be launching a device both for kids who don't have smartphones and elders who have dementia or challenges of wandering. And we think instantly we're going to be the leader in that space because unlike companies who are taking a device-centric approach, we already have 50 million people who use our product and trust us, and we have their attention every day in the phone. So we're one example of that. A couple other things that come to mind when I think of like who are these other Trojan horses. You don't even necessarily have to look at people who are having a consumer relationship themselves. So one challenge people have in this space that's pretty severe is I want my device to talk to the cloud, but now I'm reliant on paying a carrier a huge amount of money for a 3G SIM card, which kills a ton of battery and is very expensive, or I'm reliant on my home Wi-Fi router, and everyone knows how unreliable that is. There's now a new wave of companies that are coming out building their own proprietary IoT networks. You have Sigfox, who's putting stations on actual cell towers where you can now be able to plug in a device anywhere in a major city that has one of their towers, and they'll be exceptionally cheap, possibly free. There are small startups like IoTerra who are taking a base station approach, where you put a base station in your home, and then any device that's within 4 miles of that or another IoTerra member can talk to the cloud. So these aren't companies that are building their own devices, but if you go back to like 4th grade history, like you look at the gold rush, everyone in California probably remembers taking, the real winners weren't the miners, it was the people that sold the pickaxes. So, so if maybe you don't have to worry about who the winner is, maybe it's the smart umbrella that wins, but that network that powers it, maybe that's the real company that gets huge. I notice a lot of people talking about Amazon today as a big player. If you go back to say even 12 months and said within a year Amazon might be the biggest player in the connected home, or be able to credibly say that, you'd probably be kind of laughed out of the room for saying Amazon, they're an e-commerce company. But what Amazon actually was the single biggest pipe into that household. And the second they came out with a device that fit in, not with the techies, but with the suburban moms, the real core family organizers, now they're the #1 selling IoT device out there in the connected home. So those are a few examples in the consumer space. Given this is as much of a discussion format as anything else, I wonder if there are other examples of left field companies in enterprise that might do something similar. With that, maybe a good moment to...
Yeah, well, I wanted to, did I leave my mic on? I did, because I've been turning it off because of all the feedback. Apologies on that. You didn't use the word Echo as the product he's referring to, and it is so interesting to think about Amazon's sudden dominance, really, in the discussion about what's going to happen in the home. So just carry that out a little further. What do you think how is Amazon's role going to evolve now that they have this real Trojan horse, or more than a Trojan horse, a potential hub for control, since using the voice is so much easier than pulling out your smartphone to do things?
So let me answer that more indirectly. There has been a lot of talk about hubs, and that was, I think, a big theme for a while. Who is going to have that anchor in the home? And every single company that has gone out with that premise of saying, I'm going to build a hub first, has failed, because they're usually solving very technical use cases, and things are, again, good demos. I want my blinds connect to my lights, connect to this and that. And
SmartThings might be an example of a company that took an approach similar to that.
Yeah, and they're now with Samsung, now they have that footprint, so maybe it works. But I think what is going to be more interesting and what is working with the Echo is solving simple pain points for the average consumer that aren't taking the hub approach. Amazon is not marketing the Echo as the hub for IoT. If you look at their commercials, they'll show you someone at home adding something to a shopping list. So when we're thinking about hubs, what are those single use cases that solve non-techie problems? Everyone here is obviously very, very seeped in the industry, but that's not the average American consumer. So me personally, in my household, I have the wife test. My wife is not in tech. We have a young baby, and I give her all the devices, and which one do you use? And it's always the ones that have stuck in our household, I think, and it's showing by sales, what is that one simple use case? Things like Tile doing really well, like where are my keys, or Ring, like who's at the door. I think that will evolve into the hub. So with Amazon in particular, they will solve a few pain points, and I think naturally it will evolve into a hub over time versus them positioning it as one.
Yeah, and just quickly, how many homes in the United States is your service in?
Over the U.S., it's probably at least over 30 million, worldwide over 60, 70 million.
Wow, yeah, that is pretty amazing. And I think on the phone you said one reason we haven't heard as much about it is it's just not as sexy as some of these more consumery, walking around Silicon Valley geeks use sort of product.
We are the opposite of an urban early adopter product. The place I know where people know me is TSA agents for whatever reason. For a Life360 cert through TSA, red states, and our most liked page is Mitt Romney on Facebook, according to Audience Insight. So, but that is America.
That is a peculiar one. Okay, well, thank